47-year-old James Craig Anderson was born on June 30th, 1963, in Holmes County, Mississippi, to his mother, Ann Zora Anderson. His father passed away when he was young. James had a sister named Barbara and two brothers named Louis and Edward. Together, they attended local schools during their childhood. James later moved to Jackson, Mississippi, where he attended church and was known for his tenor voice. He was in a relationship with his partner, James Bradfield, for 17 years and helped support a 4-year-old that was under the guardianship of his partner. James was also working on the assembly line at the Nissan plant in Canton, Mississippi. A group of young white men and women were drinking and partying in the small town of Puckett and decided to go buy more beers in a location where stores were open later at night. 18-year-old Daryl Dedman, a white man from Brandon, led the group, urging his friends by telling them, "Let's go with some." The group climbed into his 1998 Ford truck and a white Jeep Cherokee and drove 16 miles to a predominantly black area on the edge of Jackson. James was near his truck in the parking lot at the Metro Inn at 5 a.m. The two cars pulled off in the freeway and into the motel parking lot. The group claimed that they believed James was attempting to steal and break into another vehicle. In all actuality, the vehicle belonged to James, and he was trying to break in because he had lost his keys. The group spotted him, and two of the men sparked a conversation where James was explaining how he was locked out of his car. In the midst of the conversation, however, the group collectively rushed towards him, repeatedly beat on him, and robbed him before running off into their cars. One of them screamed, "White power," as they ran to the truck. The white Jeep drove off, but the other pickup, driven by Daryl, ran James over before leaving the scene at high speed. Horrifically, James died due to the impact. While in the car, Daryl boasted about the beating and running James over. He repeatedly said, "I ran that over," to the accomplices in his truck. Later that morning, police found the vehicle responsible on Interstate 20 and arrested Daryl Dedman. He was charged with capital murder, with the incident being recognized as a racially motivated hate crime. The district attorney in the case told CNN Dedman murdered this man because he was black. 3 other teenagers, John Aaron Rice, William Montgomery, and Dylan Butler, who assaulted James before he was killed, were charged with simple assault and released on a $5,000 bail. The teens were also present with Daryl in his truck. Prosecutors pursued additional charges against John and the other accomplices who were there that night. Release of the motel video showing James being fatally run over garnered national outrage, which urged the FBI to open an investigation into the crime as a civil rights violation. It also sparked a war of words on the internet in a protest on his behalf, where 500 people marched from a church to the motel. In the FBI's investigation, it revealed the group's larger pattern of attacks against African Americans in Jackson, Mississippi, which they referred to as Jafrica. There were 4 other incidents from the spring of 2011 through March 2012 that included the following. 1. The punching and kicking of an African American man walking near a golf course in the body, head, and face until he begged for his life. 2. Similar to James but in a different instance, one attacker attempted to run over an African American man in a parking lot, quickly accelerating their vehicle in an attempt to hit him, though the man was able to jump out of the way. 3. Throwing glass bottles at African American targeted victims. And 4. Using a slingshot to attack various African American individuals, including a teenage boy riding a bike. Between 2012 and 2014, the FBI indicted a total of 10 people involved in a conspiracy to commit hate crimes against African Americans in Jackson, including the attack against James. On September 20th, a grand jury indicted Daryl on charges of capital murder and a hate crime and was held without bail. Daryl and John's attorneys really tried to deny that the crime was racially motivated. Instead, the teens were on a beer run and they weren't looking for a black man to assault. Daryl entered a plea of not guilty on September 30th. Capital murder in Mississippi carries the sentences of death or life in prison without parole, with severe sentences for a hate crime. However, months later in March 2012, he would change his mind and enter a guilty plea to the charges. He was then sentenced to 2 life sentences at the state level. Federally, he received 50 years in prison. During his sentencing, he apologized to James's family. William received 19 years, John received 18 and a half, and Dylan 7 years for their roles in the hate crimes without parole eligibility. The following day, the other 9 perpetrators pleaded guilty and were sentenced to 4 to 18 years in federal prison. In a 2021 interview, Daryl said he suffered no abuse and trauma during his childhood. He simply socialized into the wrong crowd and hung with the cool people to be accepted. He admitted to harassing African Americans in the area for no reason, specifically those who were homeless and drunk, since they were less resistant and less likely to report an assault. When asked about that night in 2011, he claimed that it all began when a friend needed money for rent. 2 days prior to this night, he was out with friends where he was robbed by a black man. So when his friend needed money for rent, they decided to go to Jackson and rob someone. There were also women with them, and Daryl felt the need to impress them and show off his robbing skills. He did admit that their intentions were to rob, abuse, and harass black people that night, but certainly not to kill. While driving around, he stated that he received a text from someone in the other vehicle saying they found someone at Metro Inn. Once he arrived, he found the guy speaking with James, and they were actually trying to help him get back into his truck. However, while talking to him, someone else punched James and knocked him to the ground, and after a woman egged him on, it prompted him to join in. Daryl recalled that after the group beat him, they ran back to their trucks and drove off, but unfortunately, James was walking towards his truck while he pulled off and was fatally hit. Afterwards, he claimed he was devastated and didn't know James was dead until his arrest. When asked about his sentencing, he believes he didn't have a fair trial. He agrees that he deserves prison time for killing someone, but thinks he should have gotten 25 to life instead of 50 years. He also didn't think the time given to the others was fair, since they did not kill anyone. Daryl claims to not have the same views as he did 10 years ago, and said prison was a wake-up call because he never grew up with these views, and blames his influences. He also saw other white people in prison with similar views and did not want to become like them. When asked if there was anything he'd like people to know, he said he'd want people to know that what he did was extremely wrong. He deserves to be in prison and hopes others don't make the same mistakes he did.
What do you think his legacy would be as a result of this?
Love in spite of it all. And we will learn, because now I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to spread it all over the world and the country, that hate is not the way. We should love ye one another. Justice will be served.
After all was said and done, James's partner, James Bradfield, said, "Nobody else could understand what I lost. They took everything from me. That was everything." The siblings and mother of James Anderson were able to file a wrongful death lawsuit in September 2011 against 7 of the group members involved in the attack. The suit gained attention in the LGBT community since Mississippi law did not recognize James's relationship with his partner of 17 years, therefore making his partner unable to participate in the civil suit. The case has been called a lynching by many sources, including the New York Times. The family has since established the James Craig Anderson Foundation for Racial Tolerance. In 2016, the court ordered restitution in the amount of $840,000 to be paid to the estate of James Anderson. It accounted for the estimated lost future wages that he would have accumulated and used to support his family had he not been killed in 2011. May he rest in paradise and his partner and family find healing and ease with grief. And thank you all for watching.